Relax, sit back as we fill your mind with spooky true crime stories of the deranged, unhinged, and absolute pure evil murders that will blow your mind. Some places we will visit to show you around and educate you on the history. Other times we will bring you to the paranormal because the dead never lie silent for too long.
Be the last time anybody sees us alive. I don't know where she has us, but we're gonna get fucking killed.
Hello? Gina, there is a beehive over there. Do you see that in the hole?
Buckle up, Buttercup.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Welcome to 50 States of Madness.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
You see that Gina's still in the same place. She hasn't moved from the Pipa, poor thing.
No,
She hasn't been
still here.
back.
Still in the mountains. Still
Yeah.
up here. Yeah. Be here for a little bit longer.
So once again, we are on Zoom. I know the audio is not always the best because Gina and I like to talk sometimes at the same time, and it always sounds all blah, 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 blah. It's
Yeah.
the best we can do for now for
Yeah.
everybody.
OJ died today.
I know.
Crazy.
This is my theory. Nicole is coming back for every single one of them. She just pick them off one by one, Nicole. Pick them off.
Crazy.
Yeah,
I guess I knew he was sick, but I guess I didn't realize he was that sick.
I had no clue he was sick.
I knew he had cancer, but I guess I didn't know that it was like almost his time to go.
See, I didn't even hear that he had cancer.
Yeah, I think he
So,
had prostate cancer.
wow.
Yeah.
It's been really crazy this week in the news. Did you hear about the social media influencer? Because of the eclipse, she would talk about spirituality and stuff. And I'm probably wrong on all this stuff because I never followed her. She was talking about the eclipse and she started posting more and more stuff about everybody get prepared, get ready. And she ended up stabbing her boyfriend or husband. I said, I don't even know the full facts of it. I don't know if it was her boyfriend or her husband, but she had two kids, 9-year-old and 8-month-old daughters. She stabbed him in Woodland Hills, put the kids in the car, drove down the 405 freeway, threw them out the car. The 8-month-old died. Gina, yeah, you've been in your own little world in Yucaipa.
Yeah, I haven't, I've literally not seen anything, read anything. No, I'm like, yeah, I'm so out of the loop. I don't even know how I found out. The only thing that I did find out besides the fact that OJ died is the Chris Watts house is for sale.
Yeah, you did send that to me. But
That
this
one I was like, oh wow.
she is, oh, it's Ayoka, Ayoka. And she used to talk about astrology a lot.
Uh,
And her 8-month-old baby died. The 9-year-old was actually holding on to the 8-month-old baby.
oh
And
my
she told him to
God.
get out of the car on the freeway. They wouldn't go. So she opened up the door and pushed them out onto the freeway. The 9-year-old survived. And then she ended up driving her car into a tree and killing herself.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So today we're going to do a shoot the shit. And we are going to explore 3 of the most haunted houses in America. It is going to be, I went back to this because because this was the original reason why me and you wanted to start a podcast was
Yeah.
to visit some of these places, go around the country, visiting them, and then tell about the history. And if true crime happened there, we're going to talk about that too. I know I love the history aspect of it. You love all the creepy abandoned things about it. So that was our dream about this podcast. But then, life gets in the way, money, it's expensive to travel, but no reason not to bring these to everybody. So we wanted to share some of these places with you guys, and they're places that you can actually go to and stay overnight at.
Yeah.
And
Maybe that will be one of our next trips is to visit one of these places.
go to the Midwest and
Yeah.
kind of just drive around it because the Midwest has some pretty cool places.
Yeah.
We're looking at this being a 3-part series, so it's going to be broken up into 3 parts. And mainly also because like everyone knows, we said last week, Gina's taking care of her uncle. So we don't know what's going to happen and how much time we have. So let her spend some time with her family. And so we're going to record it today, but it's going to be a 3-part series. And one of these places claims to be one of the most haunted, number one haunted places in America. But they always say that about a lot of different places. I
Yeah.
mean, you go around and they all want to take that credit. First, we're going to head, and I don't know if I thought everybody heard about this house, but when I was talking to Gina, she was like, I hadn't heard about this house.
I'm so like, I don't even know the day of the week. I don't know the date. I don't know anything. I feel like I've been living in a dream for the last few weeks. Like, it's the strangest feeling. Have you ever felt that way?
Yeah, like well, I think you have a lot of stress on you, so you're probably like
It's weird.
disassociating.
I am. It's like, I don't know the time. I don't know the day. I don't know like what I've done. Like, it's so, yeah, it's very weird. So
It's all a
when
blur.
I come back to like reality, maybe I'll be like, oh yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, and I think when I talk about it, I think, or if you see pictures, first we're heading to the Sallie House, and this is located in Atchison, Kansas. And I think, hopefully I'm saying that right. This house was originally built in the mid 1800s and became the residence of a physician named Dr. Charles Finney. The front served as an office space and examination rooms while the doctor and his family lived upstairs. So there is this legend on this home that one night in the middle of the night, a frantic mother arrived at the home banging on the doctor's door with her 6-year-old daughter, Sallie. The doctor eventually came to the door and Sallie collapsed from severe abdominal pain. The doctor diagnosed appendicitis and knew there was no time to delay surgery. Believing the appendix would soon burst, the doctor hurriedly administered the incorrect dosage of anesthetic and began cutting Sallie before the anesthesia took full effect. Sallie's screams suddenly stopped and she grew pale and limp. She died on the operating table. Her last memories was of a man who she believed was torturing her. At this house now, ghost hunters and past tenants of the home have claimed that Sallie haunts this residence.
I lived here about 3 years ago with my 3 children, and we lived here for about 8 months. And the whole time we lived here, my daughter was 5 at the time. She had an imaginary friend named Sallie. I'd scold Heather. I would scold her for something, and she would come back and tell me, I didn't do that, Sallie did it, or Sallie told me to do it.
She has been known to scratch male residents and visitors until they bleed. Some people refer to her as the man-hating ghost. However, there is no evidence that the story is even true, although the Finney family did reside there. In addition, several Finney family members have died within the walls of the house. Others believe that the home is not occupied by people who have passed on, but by something more demonic.
I'm curious if my friend Zach Bagans has ever.
He
been-
has.
Okay, I wonder how many scratches and did he come out with a concussion?
You know, in this one, I'm going to talk about it, but in this one, they actually have footage of welts appearing on people's skin as they're filming right there.
Oh my God, look. Look. Oh, look, they're forming. It's forming right there.
She tends to do this to me because I upset her sometimes. And she wants to be noticed, I think, today.
So in the
If you guys have listened long enough, you know I'm not a fan of all of those shows. So
no, not at all.
yeah, so I just have to, talk a little smack. That's all.
Yeah, your man went there.
Okay.
So in the early 1990s, Tony and Debra Pickman moved into the home as newlyweds when she was pregnant with their son, Taylor. Paranormal activity began almost immediately.
Phenomena in this house, according to the family who lives here, are caused by Sallie, the spirit of a 7-year-old child. They believe it's Sallie who causes paranormal activity, like lights flickering on and off mysteriously, as seen in this home video.
Thank you, Sallie.
Yeah, on the left side. Right.
Family photos have turned up with unusual blurring and discoloration, confounding our photo experts.
And due to the TV show Sightings, their experiences were named the Heartland Ghost, and they were well documented on this film. So as there's film production crew in the home, they're actually catching a lot of this footage.
Oh.
They claim to be happening.
Sightings camera operator Phil Lapkin was startled when an intense charge of static electricity began swirling around him. Our audio equipment was able to record a snapping sound along the floor and around his legs.
Oh, man. That's weird. It's right, yeah, right here. Ooh,
And
boy.
the hair on your arms is standing up.
Right here.
I can see the hair over in this area here.
Ooh,
Just
right here.
So when they first moved in there, it started with lights flickering and dimming. Chains on like the ceiling fans would spin when it wasn't even turned on. And like things like that, they were kind of like, oh, maybe it's the air, the wind, something's happening. So they really didn't think too much of it at first. They thought it was strange, but it didn't make them think like, we got to get out.
Yeah.
And then eventually it would started progressing and they would hear footsteps running up and down the hall. So at first, Tony thought it was his cats running back and forth. So at one time he went out into the hallway to try to stop the cats from running, and he didn't see the cats, but he looked down the hall and he heard just full on footsteps running towards him. And he felt like a burst of wind or something go through him.
Oh, wow.
So on the morning of October 31st, 1993, after getting home from work, Tony says he went into the kitchen to pour himself a glass of milk when he was startled by the sight of a young girl staring at him. And she seemed startled at the sight of him too.
A little girl is precisely what the husband described seeing months before.
Walked over to the kitchen cabinet, opened the cabinet and got out a glass, poured my orange juice. Started to take a drink, and as I turned around, there was a little girl standing not more than 3 foot away from me, just as plain as you are to me now.
He dropped his glass to the floor where it shattered into pieces, and terrified, he ran up the stairs to contact Debra. It was only later that he recalled that the girl was wearing a little white dress that looked like it came from the 1800s. According to Debra, Tony ran into the bedroom out of breath and said, I saw her, I saw her. When she asked who he saw, he said Sallie. She looked just as real as you and I, innocent looking and sweet. She had a surprised look on her face as if she was just as curious. She wasn't scary looking at all. So, and also they said because they had the baby in the house, they would have like incidences where it seemed like she was there with the baby.
Oh.
His toys, that like at one point the toys would move, stuffed animals would move. They put them back, and then they'd hear a noise and they go back in the room, turn on the lights, and the toys are back on the floor again.
And in the nursery, video signals seemed to drift and then disappear entirely, although there was no break in electrical power or the video cable. After a few moments, the signal returned to normal.
They also think that maybe the ghost, and like, with psychics coming in, people talking to them about it, they were saying Sallie was just a little girl who just wanted to be part of the family.
Right.
And so Debra took a little bit of, comfort in knowing that, thinking, okay, she's not there to harm us or anything. She just wants to be part of the family. But Tony never felt comfortable with her. But then again, she's the man-hating ghost, so.
More.
Oh, well, now that's very interesting.
Would it be okay if I sit down?
Why don't you sit down? I can tell that you're losing your breath right now.
Sallie, what did I tell you?
Sallie, we see you. We know you're here.
Whoever or whatever was responsible for these painful scratches struck repeatedly throughout the day. At one point, new welts began to form on Jeff's stomach. Then, I was shocked to see mysterious welts forming on his forehead.
This whole spirit thing scares me, and it just, some of the things she's done, she's lit fires, and I think, well, if she wants to hurt me, why couldn't she just light me on fire, or whatever she does to some of the other things around here? But yeah, this is as far as she goes.
While you guys were outside, doing an interview outside of something we've discovered in here, it just looks like it's burned, and the rest of the petal is moist still. It's still half alive. But the outside, it's ashes.
There was another
incident that you didn't have
Yeah.
on film, the bib?
There was a shot that I thought might be interesting if she were to walk in carrying the baby, and the baby at the time was sitting in the high chair. So I said, let's just, move to this area of the room, walk in, and we'll begin. She took off the baby's bib, took 10 steps to the left, and walked back in again and went to put the bib on. It would not attach. The plastic cap beneath the bib had burned in the 20 seconds it took for her to walk away from the bib. I immediately smelled it and could smell a sense of charcoal and burning, but the plastic had melted, but there was no fire damage to top or bottom of that piece of plastic. And that-
Right. I think that's a big thing too. Like, people always just assume that, spirits or ghosts or whatever you want to call it, like it's always bad. It's always a bad thing, but I feel like whether you believe in ghosts or not, I feel like there's energy. There's like residual energy. And it's got to go somewhere,
Yeah.
And so I feel like, that not everybody that passes away is bad, or they're not coming back to hurt or haunt anybody. But and that's another reason why I'm just so not against the TV shows or whatever. I get it. Like that's what the people want. But I just feel like just because somebody has died there doesn't necessarily mean that like they're going to come out to hurt you and haunt you for the rest of your life,
Yes. Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. In this case, I think because the story cannot be proven, that they don't even have proof this ever even happened with Sallie.
Oh, so this could be like an urban legend.
It's but what they were experienced, that family was experienced, is not.
Right.
But I
Right.
think with the legend, like when other people would come in, they'd have that story in the back of their mind, like, oh yeah, this has to be Sallie.
You know what I sense up there? I got just a glimpse of that upper window of the face of a little girl, and I don't know who lives here. It's a boy, right? But I saw the face of a little girl in that window just now.
He didn't know the family called the spirit Sallie.
There's a little girl that's standing right there. Right at the top of the stairs.
Hello? Hello? Look. Hello? Can you speak to me? Sallie? Is that your name, Sallie? Sallie? Okay. She tells me that there was something with her lungs, with her breathing, and also that she hurt her foot or her...
Sightings searched town records for evidence supporting Peter James's psychic visions. In the Hall of Records, we found this: the death record of a child named Sallie, date of death 1905. We also tried to substantiate this vision.
Do you know if anyone medical lived in this house? There was a medical person? Yeah, because I feel very medical about this for some reason.
In a city directory printed in 1903, Sightings discovered that the person living in the house at the time was indeed a physician. And according to city records, he moved out in 1906, just after the death of Sallie. Was there a connection? During our investigation, Peter James was drawn to the graveyard, one of the oldest in the town. It was here that he had a vision of a little girl dying of pneumonia, and a doctor who couldn't save her. As he wandered among the headstones, Peter James described a small voice calling him toward one particular grave. Here, he felt an overwhelming grief. Here, he said, lay Sallie. But the marker was so old and weather-worn, the lettering had disappeared. But when Sightings checked the cemetery's records, we discovered that Plot 1, 4th row west, was the final resting place of Sallie Isabel Hall.
So over the next 2 years, and sometimes on camera, as film crews were taping, Tony would suddenly become covered in bloody scratches and burn marks. A few times he was knocked backward onto the floor and pinned down as if an invisible force was restraining him. Debra says that in an attempt to appease Sally's spirit, they brought her gifts such as toys and dolls, but the attacks on Tony didn't stop. Now, Tony would usually not acknowledge her, and on one occasion, after Debra had left the room, leaving him lying on the couch, Sallie bit him on the back of his thigh. Bite did not break the skin, but it did leave teeth marks. They're saying that it was the size of a young child. This is Debra. I don't remember why we didn't take photos of this. I should also mention that Taylor was only a few months old and had no teeth at the time. In addition, the teeth marks were such that Tony would have had to have been a contortionist to have made them, because you can't really bite the back of your thigh, like.
Well, and if they're, the size of a child, I'm sure he's probably got some big chompers.
Yes. That's true. He's all little tiny bites.
Yeah.
After 2 years, the Pickmans had enough and moved elsewhere. They returned about a decade later with psychic investigators. The first few visits proceeded without incident, but after a few safe visits, Debra says Tony was assaulted again. So she says Tony was brutally attacked only minutes later, being lifted and thrown 4 feet backwards into a door and unable to get up because a force was holding him down. It was only the words, "In the name of God, let him go," that enabled him to get back up on his feet to flee the house and its grip. We fled the house so fast that we didn't notice the damage that the door hitting the wall had done, but contacted the owner to let him know what had happened. And there is video footage, a lot of video footage of them being interviewed, and I'll put it here, but on one of them, she does talk about like why they didn't leave to begin with in the, the beginning years when it was first started happening. And I think it's kind of like what we experience too, kind of when we see or hear things.
I was gonna say, because we've been to some pretty, haunted places.
Yeah. And sometimes you don't believe that you're seeing it, or it's just that, you wanted to get the proof because, okay, that did happen, but did it really happen?
Yeah.
I really need the proof. I need something. Are you sure that wasn't just maybe a hive, a rash? The welts coming up. Could I be allergic to something? Did I touch something? Even with me with skincare, I'm allergic to retinol, but it took me about, 4 or 5 times putting it on my skin because I was in denial because, I want to get rid of my lines. I'm like, it can't be the retinol. Let me try this again. I just think they got to.
Yeah, you dismiss everything, you talk it away, and that's how I think, I've been that way for a long time. Like, oh, it was this. Oh, you always try to explain everything away but I have to say, when we were in Wyoming and we went with paranormal peeps to do the investigation of the prison and stuff like that, it was, I didn't walk out of there with scratches and scrapes and a black eye, but stuff happened.
I physically got sick there.
Yeah.
It was just a really weird feeling where I just had to sit. I couldn't even do the last of it. It was just such a heavy weight. And
if you guys haven't listened to that episode, it was a while back, but we actually were with a group of people that were paranormal investigators, and they invited us to do an investigation with them of the Wyoming Frontier Prison while we were there in Wyoming. And it was quite a stay, let me tell you. It was quite an overnight experience.
According to Debra Pickman, several other spirits besides Sallie also infest the house.
I do feel, as we speak, that over the years that at least 3 people died in this house.
Our review of town records confirmed Peter James's psychic impressions. 3 people did, in fact, die in the house. One in 1872, another in 1900, the last in 1918.
So she actually has names and who they are. So there's Agnes Finney, daughter of the couple who owned the house longer than anyone else. Brandon, he's easily irritated, dominant adult male with a good sense of humor who pranks adults in order to make children laugh. Charles Finney, an older male with a female vocal effect who decades ago competed as an ice skater while dressed as a female, which is unusual for back then.
Yes, for sure.
Right? We all the time now, but that was very unusual back then.
Yeah, definitely.
A medical person that that had a strange lifestyle.
Peter's accuracy was remarkable. When our sightings investigative team researched town records from 1900, the city directory showed that the house was occupied at that time by a doctor with a lifestyle that eventually led to his arrest and removal from office as the town's mayor.
Edith, a senile older woman whom everyone seems to love. Frank Jr., who died in Kansas City a year after Sallie died when his mom botched a suicide attempt that killed him, but she survived.
Oh, God.
Joanna Barnes, a dominant female who lived next door to the Sallie House until 1906 and whose ghostly voice was allegedly captured on audio.
No audio effects have been added to this file, beyond an increase in volume. Many who have listened to this recording have experienced traumatic sensations, so please do so at your own risk.
Okay, file 10, I'm putting this down. I'm going to leave this here for about 5 minutes. If there's anything you want to say, any message you would like to share with the world, leave it on this recorder, and we will share it. Leaving now, closing the door. No one else is in this room at this time.
That anomalous low-level noise wasn't heard in the field by producer Craig Armstrong or any other member of our crew. If the sound is not natural, could it be supernatural? For an answer, we turn to electronic voice phenomena authority Sarah Estep.
I've been taping for 18 years, and I've investigated a number of haunted homes, houses, properties, locations, and I've never heard anything quite like it. It sounds more like an energy sound, perhaps put out by the other side. It's interesting that it came right after Jeff asked Sallie to please let them know that she was here. And then this low rumbling sound started and built up in volume, an energy sound that perhaps they produced at his request. Very, very interesting.
Paul, a young slave boy who was lynched, it's unclear what his relation is to the house since slavery was over long before the house was built. I mean, I guess on the land.
Yeah.
Ryan, a relative of Sallie's who speaks with a slight accent. And Tom Burns, a former Civil War soldier who sometimes appears in the house dressed in his military uniform.
Yeah.
So, according to Debra, the census among psychics is this. It has been said that the negative entity within the house seems to reside in a hole in the back of the basement that is older than the house, that is attached to the land. It is surmised that it fears certain strong living energies and attacks them, or that it draws them closer to use the available energy. A psychic once said regarding a more recent group investigation that the experiment we were doing in the basement with the tuning forks was bringing up human spirits out of the ground beneath us, and that this dark and negative force was significantly angered by this action. So some people believe that it's not even human spirits in that home, that it's actually dark and negative forces that are in the home. And those are the ones that are attacking Tony. It's not this Sallie girl. People are putting names to them.
What is the land that it was built on? I'd be curious to see, like,
You know, that is
what was there prior to the house being there.
actually, that's a really good question. And if it's built on Native American land, we know that there's a lot of negative energy that can come from that because you're not supposed to disturb Native American land. So yeah, I'm really interested in seeing.
That would be interesting I would love to visit it though, to be honest.
And I'm just wondering where Debra got all these names of these people.
I was gonna say, I mean, she's got like names, personalities, like she's written a whole play.
There's all these cast of characters in this house.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'm not going to disregard it because I am interested in like going out there. I don't know about staying in that house. Would you stay in that house? Maybe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
You didn't want to stay at the Clown Motel. Come on.
And we did. And we were
And what
fine.
did you say when you woke up the next morning? That's the best night's sleep I ever had.
Yeah, because the ghost was suffocating me at night. So I just, no, just kidding. It was the best sleep I ever had. I actually slept really good at the Clown Motel.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was actually pretty good. I think it's a place that we got to go check out.
I think so.
So if anybody has any thoughts, have been there, have seen it.
I would love to hear from anybody who has been there or knows somebody that's been there.
Have any experiences there?
Honestly, yeah, I'd be really, really curious. Or if anybody knows like what that land is.
Yeah, what it's on.
Like what that house is built on.
That would be pretty
really curious. Yeah. Thank you for joining us for another week. Thank you for putting up with all of the Zoom recordings. Sorry about the way I look again. Sorry for all the background noise. But yeah, we will come back next week with part 2. If you want to follow us on social media, we're at 50 States of Madness on Instagram and TikTok. YouTube, 50 States of Madness. Pick up some of our merch, 50statesofmadness.bigcartel.com. Thank you to our Patreons for understanding that there's has not been a bonus episode yet this month, but we are going to send you guys a little something. It's literally taking everything out of me just to record these. So, but I promise you, we will make it up to you guys. So, but we really appreciate everybody's support. And we will see you guys again next week.
Bye.